I'm here today with some of my favorite holiday must-haves from Zyliss. These are items that, sure, you could prepare your holiday meals without, but they're definitely a lot more fun, faster, and easier when you have these tools. So be reminding your retailers that these are items that they're going to want to stock up on, to have on hand, to sell as gifts, as well as food prep tools to their customers throughout this wonderful season. We'll talk about each one of them in a little bit more detail, but I just wanted you to kind of take a look so you know where we're going to be headed over the next few minutes. And just know that these are ones that I've selected because I know I use them every holiday season, and I think your customers are going to appreciate them as well. I've got one of the holiday favorites here today that we all need at least every holiday season, if not prior, and that's our Zyliss 2-in-1 Baster and Infuser. Now, this is definitely one of those cases where Zyliss has gone and built the better mousetrap, for lack of a better way to say it. This particular tool does way more than your normal baster that you're gonna find hanging on the clip strip at the grocery store selling for $3.99. This guy does a great job, and here's why. It's designed extra large, as you can see, so it holds a lot of your liquids, so you get a lot more basting or injecting out of it without having to go back and forth from your pan to your pot on the stove. You've got a very large bulb end, so it's very easy to squeeze. You have a wonderful tool on the inside, which is the cleaning brush. Most basters do not have a cleaning brush, and it's really hard to get them thoroughly clean if you don't have that. And we talked about two different kinds of tips. So you've got a basting tip, which is on here right now, which simply unscrews, and you can replace this with the injecting tip. Now, I don't do a whole lot of injecting meats or marinades, but a lot of people like this before they barbecue or they smoke meat. So you simply screw that on, remove the little protective tip, and now it will work just as well for injecting the meat as it does for basting. This guy, when you're done with it, simply screws right back on this little kickstand feature that we have right here. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So you've got your bulb end on, and then you want this part here to be flat with the kickstand so that when you set this down on the countertop, after pulling broth from one place and moving it to another, this is not gonna roll off the counter. You can see that that holds it upright on the counter and it's not rolling onto the floor. If you don't have a little kickstand, this guy goes rolling across the counter onto the floor and you've got oil and grease everywhere. Your dog will be happy, but your house cleaner won't be. So let's put our basting tip back on. And now you're ready to go to, let's pretend this is your roasting pan that's filled with your gorgeous turkey or your ham or whatever you want to be basting. And you're going to simply squeeze on the top and pull up that liquid. And you'll notice the large capacity here, you've got your milliliters and your ounces, so you can easily measure how much. This is handy if you're going to be making gravy and you need to know exactly how much liquid you're going to be putting into your skillet. Super easy, and when you're ready, just squeeze that all out. And as we talked about earlier, easy to clean by removing the bulb, remove your tip, and grab your cleaning brush. The beauty here, everything is going to store all back together in one place in the drawer, so you don't have to worry about losing all of your pieces in your Zyliss 2-in-1 Baster and Infuser. A great kitchen helper for the holidays. The Zyliss potato masher is a kitchen staple. Now, many of you have potato mashers already, and you sell lots of different brands of this tool. This one is very beefy, for lack of a better way to describe it. It's heavy, it's solid, and this is very, very durable. One of the things I really like about this is that it's got a nice wide handle that's rounded and comfortable, so it's easy to hold onto and it doesn't dig into your hands as you're mashing your potatoes. The other thing that's great is you've got this little silicone, we'll call it a wiper blade. So if you're mashing right into your pot or whatever bowl you're working in, as you go around your bowl mashing, this acts as a little squeegee or a wiper blade, clearing off the outside of the bowl or the pan, which makes your job easier. You don't have to stop and scrape inside your bowl. You can continue mashing and that's gonna squeegee off the edges for you. You've got two different sizes of holes here. You've got a smaller hole and a wider hole. And what that does is it helps to puree the potatoes faster and make them smoother without as much effort. The other benefit of this little wiper blade is that if you happen to be boiling your potatoes in a pot, maybe you've drained them in that pot and it's a non-stick coating, this is gonna keep it so that as you're mashing down, you're not scratching the edge of your non-stick cookware. So it's a really helpful tool to have. It makes it faster and it protects your cookware or your bowl, and you get a nice, really smooth, creamy result using the Zyliss potato masher. Great holiday item. Make sure that your retailers are well stocked on durable mashers that don't break. This is one that's gonna last a lifetime. The Zyliss Smooth Glide Rasp Grater is another really handy item to have around. Not only will it work on your citrus, but it will also work for cheese, it'll work for chocolate. There's a lot of fun things you can do with this. I'm gonna share today with you citrus and cheese, and what you're gonna experience with this is a really comfortable tool. You've got a nice arched handle, so it's easy to hold onto and use. On the bottom here, this is a non-skid base, so when you have it on your counter, it's not hard plastic that goes sliding across the counter as you're trying to work with it, which you'll appreciate. Makes it a lot simpler. You'll notice at the top here, you've got a blade cover on it. This blade cover is very, very helpful for storage, but you can also pop it off, and I pushed back here on the back side here, pop that off, and then you can push it onto the back, and what happens now is it will hold anything that you zest or grate right here onto the back. It's even got little measurement markings on it in case you're looking for very specific quantities of your zest or cheese or what have you. It's really easy to measure and know if you've grated enough or zested enough. The blade is super sharp. It's what we call an acid etched stainless blade, which is gonna last a long time and also has a very sharp edge to it. I like to take and hold it like so in my left hand and work down the blade because I feel like it's a little bit easier to control this and keep my hands as much away from that blade as I can. So again, you're just taking your citrus and running it straight down, and you don't want to get into that pithy part, which is the the white part. You want to just take off just that outer layer of the yellow. You can see it's collecting inside here. And if you need to tap it down, you can measure that in case you were looking for a specific quantity in your recipe. And then you just pop this off, and you've got your beautiful, nice, zested citrus. So you can do this with lemons, you could do this with oranges. Let's try a bigger piece of citrus just so you can kind of see how that works. And this one, because it's large, is gonna be easy to work in both directions. Again, I prefer to hold it like so. And we just wanna get that outer layer off where you've got so much oil and so much flavor. Maybe you're doing a holiday cranberry orange bread. Whenever I do my fresh cranberries, I always put some fresh zest and some fresh orange juice so I don't waste that orange. I use both. Again, you can see it's collecting here in the back. We got a little leftover lemon, but you can see where you're collecting it down here in the bottom. Again, super easy to measure and pop right into your recipe and move on. Very simple to rinse this clean. I don't recommend putting it in the dishwasher because any blade over time dulls in the dishwasher, but it is dishwasher safe on the top rack. Let's move on to doing some cheese in here. So simple cleanup, let's just rinse this off. Again, you can see how easily that cleans up, but let's pop that little catcher on back. And what's nice here is you've got a Zyliss logo. You want to match the Zyliss logo up with the Zyliss logo on the front. And that's the case if you're putting it on the front for storage, or if you're going to pop this onto the back to continue working with it. And just make sure this is snapped in place and pushed up, and then you're good to go. So let's try it now with some Parmesan cheese. So this is gonna work good for any of your hard cheeses. So Parmesan, Romano. I have used it for chocolate. Maybe if you're doing a cake or something and you want some really fine grated chocolate on top, it's beautiful for that. So you just take your Parmesan cheese, whatever its shape may be, and simply grate. And you're gonna see it collecting right here into the back. Look, very little effort. Look how much cheese we have. And again, those measurements are gonna come in really handy for that. So I love the Smooth Glide Rasp Grater from Zyliss. A super helpful tool, doesn't take up a lot of room to store, and it has multiple purposes. The Zyliss Zik Classic Food Chopper is one of those core Zyliss products that has been in the line for so many years and has been revamped and updated. This is a great item if you want to be able to chop and cut things evenly and you don't want to have a mess all over your cutting board. Let me show you the anatomy of it first, and then I'll show you it in use. So when it comes, it looks like so, and you actually can lock this top down. You've got a cup and you've got an arrow that points to a lock and unlock. So I'm going to take it out of the locked feature and unlock it. In order to relock that for storage, you just push down and turn the top over to the locked position. You want to do that when the cup is off. It works much better that way, and you can more easily get it into the lock and the unlock position for storage and for safety. So let's unlock that. You've got the food cup. You have a little lid here. So when you're done cutting, you can store products in here and keep it airtight in the refrigerator if you need to. You've got a collar. It fits around like so. The blade guard, which keeps food from going up into the mechanism here. And then when you're ready to clean it, you simply push this out, swish it around in some warm soapy water, or you could soak it. Just make sure you get it good and dry before you put it away. So to reassemble, the blade guard goes on like so, like a little puzzle piece. And you'll see once you have that in the right place, you'll see the edges of the blade sticking out just a little bit. Take our collar and pop it back into place. Very simple. And we can cut in two different ways. We can cut into the food holder like so by putting our food directly in there and chopping, which I'll show, or cut directly onto your board. So if you gather your food on the board, now this could be carrots, this could be onions, it could be garlic, whatever it is that you need to chop. Great way to get out your aggressions if you've had a bad day at work. I mean, I would never do this, but if you do, just chop away and give it some good And the longer you chop, the finer the product is gonna be. So if you keep going, you're gonna get really fine. I could have left that a little bit coarser, which I'll show you in a minute. But if that was carrots or onions, just see how fast that can be. All right, let's put some nuts into the cup, pop the top back on, and we'll keep them coarser this time. Pop this off. You can see it fits nice and snug. See how nice and easy that was? And if I want those finer, we just keep going. And let's say that I want to store these for maybe an ice cream sundae tomorrow. Let's put the top on and pop that into the refrigerator, and you are good to go with your storage and easy cleanup. A great tool and a time saver. This is something that every kitchen should have. The Zyliss silicone basting brush is another wonderful item to have that you'll actually use more than you think. What's terrific about it is it's got high heat safe silicone bristles. And on the inside of those bristles, you're gonna notice this little red piece, which is a waffle weave piece of silicone that's designed to pick up more sauce or butter or whatever it is that you happen to be basting across your meat, just to work a lot faster. The entire head comes off, and this allows you to get it thoroughly cleaned. You can put this in the dishwasher, you could soak it or hand wash it, whatever you wish to do, but it is safe to go in the dishwasher. I put mine in the utensil basket just so it doesn't get loose and caught up in the dishwasher. And then this goes back on, just follow the direction of the waffle weave piece here with the bristles. And you just have to kind of push this through. Sometimes you got to wiggle it around a little bit, show it who's the boss, push it on there, and then pull this little guy out if it gets stuck, and you're good to go. So let's show this in action. I've got some teriyaki sauce, which is a little bit thinner here, which will go first, and then the barbecue sauce. So you just want to get a good amount of sauce on there and pretend this is a piece of meat. Look how nice and smoothly and easily that's going to glide over your food and how much sauce it's distributing. We're going to double dip here since we're not working with any raw meat. So we're going to go right into the barbecue sauce. Normally I wouldn't do that, but for the magic of television, we're going to double dip. So get a good amount of barbecue sauce on there and look at how easily that is going to distribute your barbecue sauce. And it's not dripping everywhere because it's caught in the bristles and that waffle weave center. So the Zyliss silicone basting brush, definitely something that you want to have around, not only for roasting season, but also for your barbecue. I've got the Zyliss 2-in-1 Zester here, which is great for all things citrus. It's 2-in-1 because it does zesting and it makes channels. I'll show you how easily that's done. There's a couple little tricks to working with this that I've discovered over the years. And I think once you know them, it's great to show your customers and to be able to share this information because it will soon become their favorite when they know how to easily use it. So I've got a basic lemon here, nothing too fancy. When I hold the zester, now I'm gonna do it right-handed. If you're left-handed, reverse everything I say. I hold it in my right hand like so, and I wanna have my forefinger up here towards the top of it, and I want my thumb on the bottom of the piece of citrus, all right? This lemon has nice little nubbies, but it doesn't matter if it's completely round. If you have a Meyer lemon, this will work just fine. So hold it, the lemon in your left hand, the zester in your right, thumb is gonna go on the bottom, the right thumb on the bottom, and you're easily going to glide down. You can have your finger here or down, but you're gonna glide down the edge of that piece of fruit. And look how easily it's zesting. All because I've got my thumb on the bottom. I find that to be the easiest way to use this, and it gives you really nice leverage to be able to work when you've got your thumb right there and you just pull right down to it, less chance of cutting yourself, and just a really easy tool to use. Sometimes you get a lot of oil out of it, like now, my thumb's wet, so it gets a little slippery. Just dry your hand off if you need to and come right back to it. But remember, when you're zesting, you only wanna go down you wanna see just the colorful part. If you get down to the white, it's pithy and it's bitter and it won't taste good. So when you want to make channels or basically long strips, you're going to take and use the opposite side of the tool. So you're going to hold the citrus fruit the same. You're just going to use this channeling blade right here. So very simply, you're going to drag that down the side, much like you did on the opposite side, and you're going to get these beautiful strips, which have lots of oil. It smells so good in here right now. I wish we had smell-o-vision for you. And all that oil comes out. It smells great. It's going to impart some great flavor on your drink. I've seen people do fancy asparagus tied up with the channels when they go around the perimeter of the citrus, so it's nice and long. They can do that. But it's just a really functional tool, and you can see why they call it a channel, because you end up with that channel in your citrus. Don't go too far down. Again, you never want to go back and rechannel that same spot because you'll get that white pith, which is really bitter and not very tasty. A great 2-in-1 tool from Zyliss. Small, doesn't take up a lot of space in the kitchen drawer, but very, very handy when you want to do zesting or channeling. Let's talk about our Zyliss Suzy 3 garlic press. Another staple item from Zyliss. It's Suzy 3 because we keep making it better and better and modifications, but it's a great tool. And here's why. I love it because, first and foremost, you do not have to peel the garlic. One of the things I absolutely cannot stand is, sure, you can cut garlic with a knife, but I can't stand the fact that you have to peel it first. And then you've got all this paper mess. It ends up all over the kitchen floor. And then my dog's licking it up and it's stuck on her tongue and she's walking around the house with garlic paper all over her mouth. It's just a mess. You're vacuuming it up the next day after you have company. I don't like peeling garlic. I also don't like the taste of garlic on my cutting board. If you don't clean your wood cutting boards really carefully after you cut garlic on them, everything you do tastes like garlic the next day. I've done that with an apple and a peach before, and garlic, apples, and peaches is not very tasty. So how do you solve those problems? You have the Suzy 3 garlic press that requires no peeling. So you're not using your knife on the cutting board. You're not having to peel. So much easier. So I've got a pretty good sized garlic clove here that I'm going to work with first to show you. Pop that into the hopper. Now you've got an onboard cleaning tool, which I often take out whenever I'm using it. So I just pop it out, take that out because I'm going to use it later to clean anyway. And then I don't have to worry about it being in the way. Your garlic clove, pops right into the little basket here. And just make sure that that lines up and fits inside. If it's really big, sometimes this will stick up a bit. So just make sure it's lined up there right. And then you're going to give it a nice, healthy squeeze. And look at how that comes out. Super, super easy. Your little tool you can use to scrape off. And then when you lift this up, it's very easy to get this peel out. Sometimes when you pop that up, you will actually see this peel stuck on the plunger and you can just pop it right into the trash. In this case, it's still in there, but look at how easy that came out. The coating on this is a non-stick coating. So it's not a good idea to put this in the dishwasher. You can, but over time, if you want it to stay looking as great as this and functioning just as easily, I recommend hand washing it. It's super easy to do. Just make sure you rinse it after you first use it and you'll have no problem because garlic tends to be a bit sticky. Really simple to use tool. Again, the cleaning tool is great. You can pop it into here to pop out the messy garlic that's left behind and use this other end for digging anything out of the basket if you need to. And then when you're all done and you've washed your garlic press, just store that little cleaning tool right on board there and it pops out whenever you need it the next time. So super convenient. Again, not real large in size, but it takes care of the mess and the cleanup and having to peel your garlic in advance. Love the Suzy 3 garlic press from Zyliss. No matter how good of a cook somebody is, they are always going to use a can opener no matter what. A can of chicken broth, there's always something that you need to open with a can, even if you're one of those folks that likes everything from scratch. So I want to talk about one of my absolute favorites, which is the Zyliss Lock and Lift can opener. We're showing it here today in the 3 different colors that it comes in the regular gray, the red, and the green. I love this tool. It has been in my kitchen for years. Every time we update it, I always add it to my kitchen drawer to make sure that I have my favorite. What is great about this can opener is that it's got a comfort non-slip handle, both top and bottom, as well as on the turning dial here so that you get a good grip on this material. Love that. It has a locking feature, thus the name Lock and Lift, with this little red tab here. You just press it down and that opens it up. Then you're ready to attach it to your can. And when you do so, you're just gonna slip it over the edge of the can and clip down. When you hear it clip like that, you're able to lift it up. It's now attached. So this becomes your nice little lever arm when you're ready to open up a can. So set that down. Give it a few turns. This will work fine on your larger, 28, 29 ounce cans, I believe they are. When you go all the way around and you unlock it here, pull that off the can. And then to make life simpler, you've got a little magnet here that you can take over to that can lid and just tap it on the edge of the can lid. And as long as you've got it went all the way around, it'll pull off really, really easily. Take that right to the trash, push this little red button here, and that is going to eject that right into the trash. So that guy pushes it right into the trash. Super easy to use. The nice thing is you don't get a lot of debris and stuff on your blades here, but I usually just give it a quick rinse and dry it off whenever I'm done so that if there was anything like tuna juice or anything that was smelly, it comes right off and you can make sure that it stays clean for years to come. This is my favorite and will always be in my kitchen. Make sure that your retailers are well stocked. This is an item, again, every kitchen needs to have a super well functioning can opener. And the Zyliss Lock and Lift is exactly that. The Zyliss Safe Edge can opener is a wonderful product that I think a lot of folks have a hard time understanding how it works. Understandably so, because it's a little bit different than our lock and lift and some of our other can openers. So what is unique about it is that the way it's going to remove the can lid is it's going to do so and leave a safe edge, thus the name Safe Edge, but it operates a bit differently. So when you go to use it, you want to push down on the handle and set it on the side of the can. You're going to have this little blade guard metal bar here sitting on the top of the can. The cutting wheel sits right on the side, and then you're going to pull up. As you pull up, it's attaching itself to the can. Now you can see it's definitely attached. If this doesn't happen, then you need to push that down and try again. And you're going to simply crank around your can here, and you'll feel it get really, really easy when you're done. So crank away until it gets super easy, and then you're gonna see how simple the top just pops right off the can. All right, it got really easy. Now I'm gonna pull up on this handle. So whenever we attached it, we pushed it down. To unattach it, we pull it up, and you'll see that this has simply removed the can lid and it's left a nice smooth edge. Notice I didn't cut myself. You could put this back in the refrigerator if you wanted to store something in here for a little while. It's not airtight though, so do be careful about that. But you'll see how nice and simple that lid comes off and the smooth edge that we're left with, which is great if you don't want to cut yourself. That's how easy it is to use the Zyliss Safe Edge can opener. The Magic Hand can opener is not only colorful and fun, but it's a super tool that works really, really well. And I think once people see how simple it is to operate, you're gonna love it even more. So be sure and share this with your customers. It's also one of the least expensive Zyliss can openers we manufacture. So it's great for some of those grocery accounts or places where it's a little more price point sensitive. So how this guy operates is you pull the handles apart and you set it on the top of the can lid, like so. And then you close the handles. And what that does is it attaches it to the can. So now you know for sure that it's attached to the can. And all you've got to do is just crank around. And this one's super easy to use, very smooth. Just crank around the can. You'll feel it when it gets super simple. And the lid comes right off. And then in order to get the lid off, you just pull the two handles apart and you get rid of that lid super simply. And again, because of the way this works, it's going to keep this nice and clean. You don't hardly ever get any debris or anything there because of the way it works around the top of the can. It's not touching the food in the same way that they oftentimes are. So that's how simple and easy the Zyliss Magic Hand can opener is to use. The Zyliss Easy Can electronic can opener is probably the funnest can opener that we have. I love this item because it makes prep really easy when you have a lot of cans that you need to open at one time. For example, when I make chili, I might have 6 or 7 cans between the tomatoes, different kinds of tomatoes, and the beans that I want to incorporate into the chili. And after a while, your hand gets really tired. So this is a great tool for anybody that has dexterity problems, maybe carpal tunnel, any time where it's hard for people to turn a regular can opener, especially when it's repetitive like that. That's where this guy comes into play. So it is electronic in that it uses 2 AA batteries. All you do here on the front is simply push in here where you've got the little indentation, take your thumb and push there, and you can slide that open. They do not come with batteries, so you're gonna wanna make sure that your customers know that to have batteries. Pop them in, shut this little door here, and then on the back side, when you go to clean, you should be aware that this little piece here is a cover for the blade, and it comes off like so that you can easily clean this cutting wheel if it gets any kind of gunk or debris on it. Just make sure you dry it well after you do so. And don't submerge this in water because it's got batteries in it, or don't put this in the dishwasher. Common sense, but I still like to make sure people know that. A wonderful gift item because it's something a little bit different. People might already have a regular manual can opener, but they might not have anything electronic. So this is a fun gift to give people, especially if you have an older customer base that's looking for things and hacks that are simpler and easier in life. This is a great product for that. I love it. So let's see how easy it is to use. You've got a button that says start and stop. You have a light that will illuminate when we're using it, and it's that simple. So set it across the top of the can, all right? You wanna make sure it's on the top of the can. Push the start button. My hands are now free. I could walk away, I could do something else, and this little guy is gonna open cans for me. I'm frequently opening a can of tomatoes while I'm over at my stovetop, stirring my chili, browning meat, whatever. It's doing its thing. You'll see when it gets all the way around, you'll also hear that it sounds a little bit different, and it's just gonna kind of sit there and jiggle. Simply press the stop button. The light's gonna go off. It's gonna reverse itself, and you're gonna pick up your can lid just like that. This is ready for the trash. And notice you don't have a lot of mess, and your can is open. How simple was that? I had no turning, no major effort, and my can was open. That's so great when you have a lot to do. It's definitely a kitchen hack and a time saver. Makes life simpler. I have both the lock and lift can opener and the Easy Can in my kitchen drawer, and I use them both. Make sure your customers have this item for the holiday season because, again, it's giftable and highly functional, and everybody needs a good can opener. If I could have one Zyliss tool in my kitchen, and only one, it would be hard to choose, but not really. My absolute favorite is the Easy Pull food processor. I hate having to clean a big, bulky food processor, drag it out, clean the umpteen billion pieces of it, dry it, and put it away. Now, granted, this isn't gonna do your big tasks like your pie dough and many of those things that you're gonna use a big food processor for, but this little guy is small and mighty, and I have found so many uses for it in my kitchen over the years. My favorite, hands down. Let's go through the anatomy of it real quickly, and then I'm gonna show a perfect holiday recipe that you can make for your family and friends. A beautiful and delicious cranberry salsa. So let's go through how this guy works. So easily, the lid pops off. It's a pull string technology. Many of you are familiar with this from our salad spinners, okay? You do not want to put the lid in the dishwasher. Keep that in mind. You just want to rinse it clean and dry it and put it away. Don't submerge that in water. Now your bowl and everything else here can go in the dishwasher if you want to, but preferably not the blade. Your bowl has got a nice non-skid base on it. Stays on the countertop, doesn't shift around, which is awesome. When this comes, it will come with the nice protective guard on the blade. What I recommend is to take this and keep it if you want to for safe storage, but you're gonna pull this little bottom piece off, this little wiper blade, take that blade cover off, and then this little guy is gonna go back on. You'll see that it's notched here and it's notched right here so that when you go to put this back on, you line up those little notches, and then this little guy will snap back into place. Pop that on, and then it fits over the little post that's here in the bottom. So this little post here, goes right on that post. So when you set it in there, it's on. If you don't put this in there right and you set it sideways, it's not gonna do its thing because it needs to mate up with this little post here. That's what makes the beauty work. So when you have your ingredients in there, you have your hand on top. I'm right-handed, so left hand on top, and right hand is pulling. You're gonna see those blades whizzing around in there and making fast work of all your chopping jobs. So this little blade here is articulating around as you're pulling. This little blade, the wiper blade, is going across the bottom and scooping the food up and pulling it into those two blades. That's what makes it work so well. That's the magic. It's a patented design, works excellent, and will make quick work of so many different things. Okay, so let's talk about that awesome cranberry salsa recipe that I mentioned. Because we're gonna make a decent sized batch of this, I found it an easier recipe to do it in a couple of different steps. Although it's still very easy, I just wanna make enough for a crowd. So here we have our cilantro, and we've got our jalapenos and red onions and some lime. You'll get this recipe, so no need to write anything down. It's all very much to taste and visual. So I'm gonna put in here, I think probably half of an onion. That looks about right to me. So half of a kind of a medium-sized red onion, pop that in there, and we're gonna put the jalapeno in with that. So this was one whole jalapeno. All the seeds and the white stuff in the middle, whatever you wanna call that, has been removed. I think that looks like enough to me. Again, you put in as much as you want depending on how hot you like it. There's no wrong answer in this recipe. It's very forgiving. So let's give this a few pulls. The more you do it, the finer it's gonna get. And I don't want this to be completely pulverized. I want it to be a bit chunky. So let's give it a couple more pulls and take a look at that. I'm pretty good with that. Maybe one or two more pulls, get it a little bit finer. So just pop that back on. Ooh, I can feel the heat in my throat from those jalapenos already. Let's take those and get them into a bowl. And then next, I'm gonna process the cranberries. Now, cranberries can be hard to find off season. Oftentimes the grocery stores have them in the freezer section all year long. And of course, fresh for the holidays, they're everywhere. So let's get most of that out. It's not gonna be perfect, and that's okay. Always easiest if you can put your blade in before the food so that it gets in the right spot. We're gonna add some cranberries, and I don't need all of these today, but I want quite a few cranberries. So let's go with that. That looks good to me. And we're gonna process those a few pulls here. Let's pop the top right back on. Again, leave them as coarse as you like. I'm not looking for complete pulverized salsa, so I'm gonna quit there. That looks great to me. All right, let's put those into our bowl here. And then next we're gonna do our cilantro, which won't take but a second. And in this particular recipe, it is perfectly fine to keep some of the tender stems in there. You don't have to pick off every single stem. And I don't know, a cup or so worth, whatever looks good. Just make sure they're not soaking wet, because if they're really wet, they're gonna be harder to process because they're gonna wanna stick to everything. Wet herbs are really hard to work with that way. So preferably they're a little bit dry. You can wash them, dry them a little bit if you want. Give it a few pulls. This is so much faster than trying to use a knife. Look at that. Make quick work of the cilantro. So now for the fun part. So in our bowl here, we've got the onions, the jalapeno, the cranberries. Let's get our cilantro in there. And then we're gonna doctor it up with a little salt, a little sugar, and some lime. Now I pre-zested a little bit of lime. We talked about zesting earlier. I used our rasp style zester. Okay. So there's our zest that I was talking about. Let's pop that in. You could use the regular zester, but then you're gonna probably wanna mince it up a little bit. Let's get some lime in there. I've got a whole lime here. And we're gonna throw that in. I like a lot of lime. And this is gonna taste best if you can refrigerate it, cover it, and let it sit overnight. Here's some sugar. I don't like it to be super sweet because it's salsa, and I think it's good to be a little bit more on the tart side. I like the saltiness with the chips. Let's do a couple pinches of salt and give that a nice stir. And this is gonna be one of the quickest, easiest salsas that you can make for the holidays. Again, do it ahead of time, cover it up. This could be done easily a few days in advance. If it gets a little bit too juicy because it's been sitting, you can always strain off some of the juice if you need to, but the flavors, they sit for a little bit, are gonna be so delicious. All right, we've got our chips here. Just gonna spoon some of this in, and this is gonna be so yummy. And look how fast that was to make. Now, if I had pulled out the big food processor, I would be cleaning up the bits and pieces of it forever. Not to mention it makes a lot more noise. And this way, the cleanup is easy and it's gonna taste terrific. And what a beautiful, beautiful holiday appetizer you have here to serve to your family and friends. It's tasty and it's festive and the colors are just gorgeous. Another thing you could do with this is use it as a garnish for, or some kind of a sauce for a pork roast, because pork and the cranberries would be really tasty together, like a relish basically. You could also take and spoon this over a brick of cream cheese and serve it with crackers or chips. And that would be another tasty way to enjoy the cranberry salsa. I hope that you'll make sure your retailers are well stocked with the Zyliss Easy Pull food processor, because it's truly a time saver. It's easy to clean and it's fun to use. You'll love it for onions, for garlic, for nuts, or for cranberry salsa. Enjoy.